I love how you always add that together, pretty much at the same spot every week. I love
You gotta
that,
have the ad libs, you gotta
right?
have.
Hey, my friend, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I am good. It has been a
Good.
really full week since the last time we've talked, and
What?
yeah, some really good stuff happening that I can't
Yes.
wait to jump into. But also, we are a little bit a part of the heat wave that's happening in bigger places across the nation. But
Mm,
Atlanta got a little hot and humid this last week too.
it did.
That
It
our
did.
nickname Hotlanta came in.
I didn't never know how I felt about Hotlanta coming in or going out. Like, I guess it depends on your age. When that was a nickname, it's pretty cool, but not when it's hot like this. It's like, okay,
Well,
Georgia, where's the
right,
beach?
we laughed because we moved here from Texas about
Yeah.
15 years ago, a little over 15 years ago, and we were moving from Houston, Texas, which I love my peeps in Houston, but it really is like
Mhm.
the armpit of the United States. So like when we moved here, everybody was like, "Hi, Atlanta," and we're like, "It is 10 degrees cooler here."
Mm,
And so we were like, "We'll take it," and it still is, but I've adjusted to Georgia temperatures. So
right. Still
should we
hot.
do our intro and get started?
Yes, of course, of course. Hi,
Let's do
ladies.
it.
I am Shannon Mitchell, the owner and operator of Shealo Glo LLC, a handmade shea butter company. I am a champion for your self-care, business care, and intentional wellness.
Hey, y'all, I'm Christine Gautreaux, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, and published author who helps you upgrade yourself and community care.
And together, we are Women Connected in Wisdom, a podcast grounded in the eight dimensions of wellness.
Yeah. Where we get together every week and have intentional conversations about how to be wise in business and relationships and wellness. And we invite on these amazing guests that
Yes,
just always are so much fun. And today's guest is no exception. I can't wait to introduce her to y'all in a little bit. It's going to be a treat. So,
absolutely.
well, what are we talking about today, Shannon?
Today, I mean, we're talking about wellness, but as we know, there's a lot of different details we could talk about. So, specifically, financial wellness. And this is one of my new favorites. It
I
really
was gonna
is.
say it is. I don't. Is it new? Because like you love this. Every time we do a show on financial bring it, bring it, bring it.
Bring me the money. I feel like Jerry Maguire, okay? Show me the money. And it's so interesting because I feel like during quarantine I just found out that people really have a sense of feeling like they shouldn't have anything. I don't feel like I have that, but it also comes from my spiritual wellness. I know whose daughter I am. Talk about riches in heaven. So all you have to do is make sure you discipline enough to stick to a budget and stay committed to some things. Okay. And then compound interest will make you wealthy. Let's see where we're at in 20 years. But if I didn't know that before, I don't even know where to start. So I love being able to help the ladies and talk about financial wellness.
Right. What definition are we going off of?
So today we're going to try to capture a complete definition of financial wellness, but it's tricky, right? Because it means different things to different people. Let me scroll back up because I scrolled too far down. At its most basic level, financial wellness is a holistic approach to counter financial illness. This holistic approach includes a combination of factors such as satisfaction with current finances, increasing positive financial behaviors like saving, reducing debt, and budgeting, financial knowledge that helps to change behavior, reduced financial stress, and creation of a financial plan to reach desired financial goals.
Right.
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah. It's a big one. And it is
It's
like there's a
huge.
lot that goes into it, right? I know we're different generations and different races and
Yes.
different ways we've been taught about it. We've had this conversation on the show before. We didn't really talk about money in my family growing up. And in
Yeah.
fact, we were taught not to talk about it. And
Mm.
so I am still learning. Like that's our
Right.
guest today, y'all. Full transparency. I hired her as my money coach because I'm like, I got to figure this out.
I didn't know she was your money coach. I want
You
her
didn't
as
know
my
that?
money coach. No.
Okay, good. We have this conversation, you're going to see why she's my money coach, because I was like, oh, I need some help. Because, I was always like, oh, you'll figure it out. But I got to thinking, like, people hire me because they struggle with their self-care, their community care, or they're looking for a new job and need a new career. And like, I have skills to help them, but I'm not an expert in money and I'm not an expert in finances. And I was like expecting myself to be, and not really doing a good job at it, really. And, I didn't have they don't teach it in school. We didn't talk about it in my family. I've taken a few programs here and there, but I'm still like, how do I do this? And, I'm halfway through my life. Like, if I live to be 100, I'm halfway through my life. So I'm like, I should figure this out in the second half of my life.
Absolutely.
And I love that you're starting earlier.
Yes. And I love I'm a huge Robert Kiyosaki fan. He is, I feel like, the foundation of a lot of my financial literacy for the stage that I'm at right now. And he has this book titled Second Chance. And I think, especially after this book, I understand midlife crisis a little more. And not that it was about midlife crisis, but it is about situations that happen and you're in a, oh my goodness, what am I about to do situation. And that was a lot of us, and is a lot of us after quarantine and with life in general. So, with my mom passing away, again, if you guys don't know the story, you ladies don't know, that's why we have a podcast. But I was a salaried manager, right? If the general manager was not there, this is my restaurant and I ran it like it was mine because I love doing a good job, right? But occupational wellness wasn't there. My financial wellness wasn't there. And I was looking at how much time I was working and what my life looked like. And with not knowing my mom for 12 years, I said, you know what, let me step down and spend time with my mom while she's sick. If I know that I don't want to keep moving up this ladder that I'm climbing up. So I stepped down, and then a year later, Corona happened and shut the restaurant down. But I said I wasn't supposed to be there for more than a year anyways. So now I've taken the opportunity to start this podcast and talk with you ladies every Wednesday at 5 and to start Shealo Glo. And that's what I've been working on, and side gigs and stuff, right? But in order to know that I need side gigs and know what the plan is, that's why the financial wellness is so important. I would have loved to take care of my mom in a different way. The culture of silence in America with the history, we don't even talk about burial cost and how traumatizing that is on top of losing people. So I can't even imagine what it's been like for the Black community during Corona. People passing away, you can't see them, you don't have the money to bury them. It's like, that's the whole thing. So I really look forward to us getting away from feeling like we shouldn't ask for more and into, okay, if you should tell your dollars what to do, what type of job should I give my dollars? And we could start talking about that with our guests today.
I can't wait to talk about it with Laurie. Yeah, you saying that about coronavirus and hitting the Black community especially, because we know more Black and brown bodies have been affected than anybody. I saw the statistic this week that 600,000 people have died from coronavirus in the United States. And that number just came up this week. And that's huge.
I think we should just take a second. For the people who lost their family members this year that didn't get to see them, and whatever that means. Let's talk about our wellness, and I'll give it a second so we could take a moment of silence and then we can bring our guests on.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. I think we should keep going because, of course, we got to, give reverence and celebrate life, but be honest about what's going on. So we're about to plug into some financial resources to make sure that we get that part of the story a little more tightened up.
I am so excited to introduce our guest this week. Y'all know I get excited every week. And because if I don't know them before they come on our podcast, which this guest I do, but we get to know them in the pre-interview. And then it's like, wow, I can't wait to share it with y'all. So Laurie Johnson's background includes over 25 years of experience in personal and business finances, financial counseling, the psychology of money, financial therapy, tax strategy, and tax preparation. Laurie is an accredited financial counselor, a registered tax return preparer, a certified cognitive behavioral group facilitator, a top corporate trainer for Fortune 500 companies, a professional speaker and author. Laurie is approachable, non-judgmental, and loves making money fun. And I can give a testimony to that. Fun fact, Laurie has more than 5,000 continuing education hours. Let me say that again. 5,000 continuing education hours in the areas of personal and small business finance. So truly an expert and an amazing human being. I want to welcome to our stage, Laurie Johnson. Laurie Johnson!
Hello.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I love talking about money.
Right? And I love that about you. And you really are, when it says you are non-judgmental and love making money fun, that has been my personal experience with you. And girl, I got some blocks about it. So I am really excited that you're just knocking those blocks down. And so why do we have blocks, especially as women? Like, what in your experience with all these hundreds of women's and companies that you've worked with, like, why are we so tied in knots around money?
Yeah, so money blocks actually come from the nurture part of money. It is all about it's what I call your money baggage, your experiences, your observations, the thing people say to you about money, the things that even the nonverbal communications that people have around money that create blocks, right? And so key is just being aware that you probably have some. I think, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it could be from traumas, like if you lost a job or if you lost, a house or a car, those can cause money blocks. Or it could be because when you were on your mama's hip, when you were young enough to point something at the store and say, I wanted that whatever answer she gave you, like, caused some little fuzziness in your little brain that stayed with you.
Right? Like, you even talking about this, here's the story that's bubbling up for me, and then I'm going to pass to Shannon and see if she has any stories. But I don't even know how old I was. I had to be old enough to go to the skating rink by myself, but I wasn't. So I was probably 10, maybe around that age. And I remember my mom giving me a $20 bill, which was huge back then, right? So she gave me a $20 bill to go to the skating rink. And I think it was probably $5 or I don't know what it was to get in, but I remember getting there and they had these gorgeous pom-poms. Y'all remember? Yeah, I'm older than y'all, but those fuzzy pom-poms that go on the top of your skates. Oh my God, they were gorgeous. And they had them in burgundy and white, which was our school colors too. And I was like, oh, I have enough money to buy them. And so I bought them, and I got in so much trouble because I was supposed to bring home change. Mm-hmm. I didn't know I was supposed to bring home change. That expectation hadn't been set ahead of time. Mm-hmm. So I just, even as you talked about it, like, I went right back to that little girl who was taught, oh, you're not allowed to do that. You're not like, even if you have the money, you're not allowed to get what you want. So, group therapy for Christine today. I'm passing for Shannon. You got to
be. Yeah. And I think that you should pay attention to what you just said. Right. Like, even when you have money, you're not allowed to get what you want. Like, usually it's the things that we say as an aside, kind of those throwaway comments that we make, that we have to, like, bring back and focus on so that we can, like, kind of break them apart and figure out which part of those things we're playing into, or what part of those things we're rebelling against.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And what I was going to say is deconstruct it. Yeah, and a lot of times it's the simple stuff. Like, oh, no, that sounds regular, but that's actually the root of what we're talking about, Mm-hmm. I have a couple of different stories. Let's do 2 quick ones. So one, I think I had gotten second place at the science fair in, like, middle school, right? At the time, I was the oldest. Shout out to LeVay and Zakir, my brother, my sister. Today is actually his birthday, so that's
Oh,
perfect. Shout out to
happy
Hot
birthday,
Stuff.
Shannon's brother. Happy
Yes,
birthday.
attorney LeVay Gallman. Shout out to you. Happy birthday. We're all, it's like Rugrats grown up now, right? But I'm at the store. We're at Michael's again, and I had gotten second place in the science fair, and I wanted to give my little brother and sister a gift with my card, right? Part of my money I was going to spend on them. That was a lesson I had learned before. Trying not to be selfish with my money is what I was doing. But it's interesting because when I was picking between the two different designs, and I'll leave it at this story, we'll keep going. I was picking between two different designs, and the first one was the same design as the first place card. I thought that it had the same amount of money as the first place card. Then there was mine. I said, no, I don't want them to have the same amount. Then I'm not going to have any money left, right? So I wanted to get them the third design of the card, which was one I hadn't seen. And so I assumed it had less, or I could just put however much. Of course, that's not how gift cards work. You pick a design and you put however much money on it. But me seeing that, how I give gifts, why do you don't want them to have more than you, but it's why do you give that way, right? And then it was not understanding money and thinking that because I saw it and it was worth this much, that this piece of plastic every single time has that amount of money on it. And so translating now to Bitcoin and all this other stuff, it's like, wait a minute, if you don't understand in the world value of stuff, if you think that it costs $15 like some kids do to pay for a mortgage, we got to make sure we fix that at some point. But it wasn't fixed. So I think that's a story that I think about that bubbles up. I hadn't thought about it for a while.
Oh my goodness, so many different aspects to that story.
Yeah.
Yeah, fascinating. But yeah, no, I totally agree that that one of the number one things that we have to start doing with our children is teaching them young. I started teaching each of my children about money when they were 3. If you're old enough to learn how to read, then you're old enough to learn about money, right?
I love that.
So you just get started simple with them.
To give us some examples. Like, what did you do?
Oh.
Like some examples or resources that parents could use.
Oh, so I love 3. 3 is for me always the magic number. So 3, I would give them $3 a week, and I gave them their age per week until they were both 18. Actually, my son was 19 when I stopped giving him $19 a week. He's like, seriously? I was like, are you saying no? He was like, no, I'm not saying no. Right. But one is, if your kids never have money to spend, they will never learn how to spend it. So you have to give it to them. Right. And then 3 is a perfect amount of dollars so that you can share, spend, and save. Right. And it teaches them to have money so that they can make decisions about what they want to purchase. And then it gives them the experience of saving so that they can have bigger chunks. And it gives them, the thrill of knowing that when that Santa is ringing that bell, that you can go give him money, or if a friend has a birthday, that they are personally purchasing something for their friend. Mm-hmm. And so it teaches them lots of different lessons. Mm-hmm.
I love that.
I love that.
I needed that years ago, Laurie. So it's also, I have a curiosity because I have 2 daughters, 19 and 23, and they're very different money personalities. So do different people have different money personalities? Like, one daughter is very definitely a saver. Like, it is her nature to save. I think in her current jobs, she puts 70% in savings and 30% in her checking. So, because she's saving for college. And then one daughter is probably the opposite. If she saves 30%, like, she is a spender. She and it's for good thing. Like, it's for saving the whales or saving the animals. She was my kid that when Jack Hanna was on TV, she was packing her bag because he said he needed help and she was going to go to the rainforest and help. I was like, baby, he wants a donation. He really doesn't want you to show up at 3 years old. So money personalities.
Yes, absolutely. Money personalities, saver spender is completely nature. So it's completely, you were born that way. It's like being right-handed or left-handed, and it's just as hard to change. And so a natural spender is a natural spender. My 23-year-old daughter, she is a spender. She will spend every free dollar that she can. And so I'm very happy that I taught her very young to automatically save and to have money that she wants to share. So she is a very good saver, but every penny that's not saved is spent. Right. And she is is what I would call a spontaneous spender. So she wants to be able, she's not like a spender that plans. She wants to be able to spend it like whenever. Where my son, he's 20 and he is a saver down to his marrow. I mean, he wants to save like every penny. You know, I was suggesting once that he purchase something, and he was like, "Well, no, I don't want to spend my money on that. I want to save to, I don't know if he wanted to buy stocks or a particular stock or something." He's like, "Yeah, I'm saving up for that." I was like, "Okay." The kid doesn't want like a new Lego set or something, but he's like, "Nope, never mind." Yeah. So it's something that is in your nature. The things that are more easily changed are the nurture things, the what I call your money baggage. Those are the things that you can change more easily.
Right. I love that. I love that. I mean, that makes sense to me. And it also makes sense that we can learn, no matter how old we are, we can learn how to have mastery over our money. So, like, tell us about what you do with clients and how you help them to do that. Like, how do you help them to shift mindset or gain mastery? Like, what do you do with folks?
Well, I have two sets of clients. I work with individuals. So when I'm working with individuals around money, I really do want to get a strong understanding of like what their money personality is, what their money baggage is, what they or why it is that they do what they do with money. And that really is the first part of the solution, because what you do with money has nothing to do with money. So if money had something to do with how well you did with money, then every time you got a raise, you do a little bit better. But that really just isn't the fact. So, and money also isn't why we are satisfied or dissatisfied with our lives, right? So that all has to do with with our relationship with money, how we spend money, and how we think about money, right? So if money is a good thing in a certain circumstance, or if it's a bad thing, you know, if it can bring on chaos or if it can bring on peace, all of those things are set up in our mind, in our mindsets. And so first it's discovering, you know, what our beliefs are around money and how we think about money. And I'm a very left brain person. And so I want a tool, a strategy, a tip, you know, I want a technique for like everything, right? And so I'm like, you know, if you're like spontaneous, wrap your card. Sometimes they call them card condoms, like wrap it, protect yourself from overspending. Or if it is that you're having a bad day or you're overly emotional, there's some words that are very detrimental to your money. Fear, shame, regret. Those are like, those can devastate your finances. And so figuring out what they are, I am in favor of meditation, especially guided meditations around money, and also a version of.
Do you provide guided meditations around money, or
I
do you?
do.
What? How
Yeah.
does somebody get a hold of that?
Oh, you know what? Actually, I haven't. I usually do them with my one-on-one clients. And
Okay.
so as I'm working with them, as I am preparing them for each step of our journey, there is a guided meditation that goes along with that step so that we can get them, I call it like when I'm getting ready to download information, I just want to wipe them clean a little bit so that they can like absorb better.
Do you
Yeah.
know about Insight Timer, Laurie?
I
We've talked
don't.
about it on the show before. Insight Timer is a meditation app that
Mhm.
has thousands of meditation instructors,
Mhm.
and you'd be a great meditation instructor on there.
Oh, well, I will have
Just
to
a thought.
check that
I'll
out.
send you a link to check it out, and I'll put a link in our show notes for our listeners to check out all the meditations. But it would be a great place for that too. I'm
Yeah.
selfishly saying because I'm a user and I would love to be able to pop in your name and your money meditation pop
Oh,
into
yeah.
my
Absolutely. I don't know. I just think that getting your brain straight is
right.
important. It's an important part of getting your mind straight. But then what I do with my business clients, my small business clients, is I give them financial knowledge, right? Teaching them about their business finances, giving them the rules of business finances. And usually their fears are a little bit different. Their money blocks are a little bit different than in personal finance. They're more like imposter syndrome or kind of a little bit of fear of moving from maybe employee to you're the top dog and now you have to take responsibility. Or another big one is having fear of debt. And you cannot be afraid of debt and be in business. That is what you leverage to get the skills and the information that you need to grow your business. And so it's the same thing if I'm working with a person for their personal finances, or if I'm working with a small business owner. It's knocking down those blocks, getting them the information that they need, and creating a plan. Mm-hmm.
I love it. And especially from a finance standpoint and a time standpoint. Again, going back to Robert Kiyosaki, he's the one who taught me if you don't have time and financial freedom, you really don't have complete freedom. So quarantine gave me 100% time freedom. Okay. Do you have financial freedom, or are you going to sit down in the house somewhere with a banana? Like, that's what I did. Not going anywhere. Okay. But I love what you said about the different hesitations or barriers that people have. And when you talked about cleaning the energy, it reminds me of you, actually, Christine. It reminds me of Stillpoint and the story in the book where um, they were hearing a difficult story emotionally, right? The support group that was talking. And the survivor of the Holocaust started sharing his story. He had a pain in his back, and he had been feeling it for decades since the war. And it was really because, fast forward to the end of the story, he only thought about his family in the concentration camps. He wasn't thinking about the happy memories before that. And of course, was grieving the happy memories and his family members and was physically holding on to that pain. Now, of course, that's a lot, right? So, how do we process a lot? They were moving the energy around. And one of the characters in the book, one of the speakers was saying how she was physically moving the energy up into the roof and to the sky for positivity and the ways that you could kind of wipe it off, you know. And as a Christian, this is not necessarily something that we usually talk about. We don't talk about how to clean the energy in the room, and it almost seems like it might be witchcraft. Who knows how far left it goes or where that starts. That's not how I feel about it. I think that we live in air and energy between people. You can physically feel it. And so if there's a way to clean that off and have a healthy environment, when I've done it, it's always helped me, and I pray during it, and I feel great about it. So I love doing that before looking at finances and learning new financial information, because it could be very overwhelming and I went through the transition, right? As soon as I got unemployment last year, I was okay, let me call somebody and help me with the strategy. From that, I already knew Robert Kiyosaki, don't buy a liability. If you win the lottery, there was a case, okay? He won the lottery. He bought a $20,000 chain. The listeners probably know what I'm talking about. there was a video of this man getting robbed at the gas station. You should have bought an asset, okay? And not saying that there's ever reasons to attack anybody. I hope he's okay. But I also hope that I wish he would have invested the money, and that's how we can make it flip. So again, I know it's overwhelming for me going from being salaried to then unemployed and knowing that I should get an asset. So now I have to manage my personal finances wisely, right? Because we're women connected in wisdom. But now I need to also separate my accounts from my business. And so that's what I want to talk about next is profit first, because I think even as women, we might be less inclined to want to try this system, right? And listening to it after all the studying that I've been doing on this topic, it makes so much sense. Yes, Mike McAllowitz, I have changed my accounts, but I still need to set up the 2 no temptation accounts. So I want to talk about it specifically here so that we're really giving the ladies what they need, right? And what is not other places. So correct me if I'm wrong, Laurie, because I know you're the expert, but in Profit First, there's 5 different accounts. And I also know that there's Profit First experts. I don't know if you're on that list, Laurie. So if the listeners are listening and they're very interested, I want to make sure that I say that just for clarification for everybody. But again, this is what I just did that I think has really helped me. And I changed it to operations, OPEX, which is operation expenses, profit first, right? Because we're going to make sure that our businesses are thriving on healthy margins and we're spending like we should. We're using our money how we should. Then there's taxes, because if you're selling stuff, you're selling services, we got to make sure that our businesses are not going to get shut down by the government and we're not taking money that we shouldn't use. Then we have, what is the next one? So I said profit first, I said operations, I said, no, the next one is owner's compensation, right? Because as an owner that's in the business, you should be compensated. So that's every 2 weeks, that's an account. And then you have your 5th one. That is, what am I missing, Laurie? Do you remember?
So I don't do profit first exactly.
You did say
but I
that.
think what you're thinking of is, gosh, what are I think that they are profit owners pay, operating expenses, taxes, and I know that there's a 5th one. Oh, the money in.
Yes, the income. And so I love it because this pulls everything into one place, right? And you're not just spending all that you have, like Laurie said. I think we said that before the call. We were talking about different ways. Actually, was it on the call? We were talking about different ways that people spend money, and some will just spend all that they have. Was that on the call or before?
Yeah, it was on the call.
Okay, perfect. So the listeners know what I'm talking about. But that's definitely me. So the income helps me with that. It comes into this account and then I disperse it from there. So as somebody who helps people with their business finance accounts, Laurie, and their personal ones, what would you say? I know, especially with you doing yours different, how do they balance both of them? Should they have multiple accounts on their personal side as well? Or should they, I don't even know what the different systems are.
Oh my goodness.
For personal accounts.
All right. So this is typically how, so you have to realize that when clients come to me, they have a personal account, right? And so what I'm trying to do is get them to stop commingling funds.
Right.
And I'm also trying to come up with a system that's easiest for them, because the only system that truly works is the one that you'll use appropriately, right? And so for some people, they have a personal account, they have a business account, and then they're doing everything else on spreadsheets. But if you want to do it by true accounts, I usually have them have four accounts. Okay. So they have their main account where the money comes in, and that's actually where their profit sits. So it's their money in account and their profit account. And then there is their tax account. And I'm usually working with solopreneurs. And so that tax account, I don't I don't care if that's a personal tax account or if it's a business account, because as a solopreneur, you pay taxes on your business income as an individual, not as a business. They go on your personal tax returns. The third is your owner's pay.
Mm-hmm.
And the fourth is your operating expenses. And usually I go in that order because I have a suggested recommendation for percentages for when people first start working with me and they don't know what those percentages should be. And it's 10, 20, 30, 40. So 10% profit, 20% taxes, 30% owner's pay, and 40% operating expenses. And that 40% operating expenses gives you a defined number that you can use for budgeting for your operating expenses. Mm-hmm.
I really like that because it makes it simple. I think I would still need to split the profit and the other money just because I know it's gonna be gone. I'm gonna spend it. But I love that.
Well, you're not. So here's the thing that I tell people all the time. The money that is in that money in account, that is in that profit account, that money don't belong to you. It's not your money. It belongs to your business. A receptionist couldn't sit at the receptionist desk, someone bring her petty cash and she decide to spend it. Absolutely. Because it's not, they have like not nice words for that, right? And so you have to realize that the money in your business, until you take it out and you pay yourself, that is the business's money. And I think that your small business owners get a little confused.
What I mean is, what I've seen with myself as a new small business owner is spending for the business. Because if I'm the type of person that spend for myself, now I'm spending for the business too. And now my operating expenses is higher than the percentage that it should be because I'm just that type of person that spend the money. So absolutely for both.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but so here's the nice thing about the operating expense and it being its own account.
Yeah.
You can't spend what's not there. Right. And if you are spending what's not there. And so, like I said, I am pro, I'll call it credit in your business. I am pro access to capital in your business. That is what you need. And so if you are running your business on a shoestring and you've never, you don't understand your business finances and you've never paid someone to help you understand your business finances, if you don't understand sales and you've never paid for someone to help you understand sales in your business, you're not going to be profitable. Those are two key things that you have to understand in your business. 82% of businesses go out of business due to lack of cash flow. Understanding your business finances, not making the sales. Those are those two things, 82%. So
that's a big number.
Mm-hmm. Big number.
Big number, isn't it?
And y'all, for our listeners who are listening to this, if you are a solopreneur or entrepreneur, Laurie can fix that for you.
Yes.
She
That's
can
what
tell
I was about to say.
like she can tell you like, don't do this or do this, or that's what I love about you and being an expert in this, because it is scary if finances aren't your background or money is not your thing, or and I think there's such shame around money sometimes, not that needs to be there, but years ago, and I probably said it on another episode when we were talking about finances, but years ago I was a foster care and adoption worker and would do home studies where literally I would have a 10 to 20 page document about everything in a couple's life, right? And I was young, I was a green social worker, and it blew me away. But people were so much more willing to talk to me about their sex life than they were about their finances.
I think about you saying that.
I mean, they were completely and sometimes it was a little awkward, but once they got started, they were fine, right? And they're like, Christine, why'd you need to know about their sex life? Well, it was a part of how's their marriage functioning and how's their relationship going. But they would go off on that. But finances, and we had to, because that was part of the deal. But that was and then that was norm for me because we were taught not to talk about finance. So it was like, it's so confusing sometimes when we're raised in that culture, when we're raised not to talk about it.
Well,
Yeah.
and go ahead, Laurie.
Oh, no, go right ahead. You can go right ahead.
And I would love your opinion on this too, Laurie, because I know that people talk about playing the race card, right? But they both start with R, and it's definitely relevant. Okay, that was straight off the dome, you know. But it's definitely relevant because I just saw the post about changing what's allowed to be taught about in schools. So if we're talking about psychology, Laurie, I love that you know about financial psychology. The intersection of those two things is very important. And if we're not going to talk about how disproportionate incarceration changes the generational lifespan of the family, if we're not going to talk about how going into people's homes and raiding their furniture and burning it down, how that might affect the standing of that family, much less a whole community of 10,000 in Oklahoma 100 years ago, and what type of message that sends, you know? So I think that it's interesting. We talk about, again, why do some people have hangups? Well, I think that that's why certain people have hangups with even learning about it. If we weren't supposed to be reading and writing, and social is just one category of wellness, financial is a whole nother category. So after emancipation, it wasn't like, oh, here's a whole, you know, all these resources like we have now for you to understand what's going on. So that and trauma and people passing away because of sickness and bad habits, not taking care of ourselves in any of the 8 dimensions, it makes sense why we have people asking questions, you know. So Laurie, so one, I'm trying to figure out how to ask you specifically to give the most direct help, because I know that I'm great at being internally motivated, but some people might not be, right? So I love what you do. I love that you're a woman doing it, being able to help people with both their business and their personal finances is so big. So if you ladies are having hangups on what to do and kicking yourselves because you're by yourself, that's why we have this podcast, to be connected. There's generations of stuff, no matter who you are, you know, of why you might think the way that you do. So having somebody to help you split it up and just walk with you through stuff, I think is great. But what was my question, Laurie? I had one specifically based
While you're
on.
doing that question, I want to pop in here, Shannon, about what you were saying, because there was just an article on NPR, May 21st, 2021, y'all. So this is still happening, talking about race, that a Black woman had to hide her race to get a fair home appraisal. So she was in a historic Black neighborhood in Indianapolis. It had been completely renovated, and she wanted to get an appraisal to refi her house, right? And when she popped in Zillow or whatever she popped in for figuring it out, it said it was estimated at 187, but when she had her first appraisal, it came back at 125. And then time it was 15,000 lower. And then what she did is she had a friend, a white male, call and stand in for her at the appraisal, and it came back at $259,000. So people that say that doesn't exist are not paying attention. Like, it's happening right here and today.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. So I sold my home just this past November, and I was instructed by my real estate agent to take all pictures off the wall, all pictures out of drawers. Like there had to be no pictures anywhere of my family. And before my appraisal, I was instructed to leave my home an hour because sometimes they show up early. And because it was made very clear to me that it was because I was Black. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean that, and I'm in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. So yeah, no, it's not surprising to me at all.
Yeah, it's real, the disparities that are still happening in 2021.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm always aware that I am in business while being Black.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
business while being Black. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
So it's
so like
interesting.
I think that's my question is when things like that happen, right? You talked about cleaning off the energy, and of course there's every day there's still more to learn. So when everyday situations are happening like this, because again, we're just talking about race. We're not even talking about gender and everything else that adds on to that intersection. Um, how do you maintain your personal financial wellness and your healthy mindset, your mindset of mastery over the finances with situations like this still persisting?
You know, there are things that so I think that a lot of African Americans have lifelong experience trying to get the best outcome, right? And I would assume that that's true for most minorities.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I mean, someone asked me about it in an interview recently, and they were saying, what have you done recently that would be surprising? And I was saying that I was getting a book edited, and it was through a portal where I could put my picture. And I was like, no way, I'm not putting my picture up there until my book gets edited. And and it's purely because I want to make sure that the best job was done in for my book, because I'm Black. I mean, it's the first thing that you notice about me other than my big old hips. So, right?
I was going to say your sharp lip and your hair.
I like the hair and the smile, yes. And the picture is good, okay? So when they see the picture, they should be happy too, but I get it.
Before we get off track, we haven't said what your book is. Will you tell folks what your book is and how to get it?
My latest book is a personal finance book, and it's called You Bought What? How to Create a Spending Plan That Works.
Okay.
I need that, actually. Yes.
So it goes through some money personalities. It goes through, some financial literacy. But it also talks about some financial wellness topics. I talk a little bit about living in intentional ease, which is kind of my version of financial wellness. It's again, it doesn't matter how much money you make, you can live in intentional ease and have financial wellness in your life.
Yes.
I love that. Laurie, where can folks find your book?
So they can find my book at my website. It's www.revision, that's REVISION, financialsolutions.com. www.revisionfinancialsolutions.com.
And we will put a link to that in our show notes so folks can find that also. I am aware that we are almost out of time. This has gone by so quick. But before we pop you back to the green room, we always do a wisdom in action every week that we tag on social media. So if you were to hashtag something, your wisdom in action around financial wellness, what would that little blurb be?
Know your numbers, write them down. Yep. Personal, business, doesn't matter. You have to, and there is something magical about taking pen to paper that really allows your numbers to sink into your brain. So you can't just know your numbers on a computer. Write them down.
Love that.
Yep.
I love that.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here with us today. This was delightful, and I'm pretty sure I owe you a questionnaire, so that would be coming soon.
Yes, get that done.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laurie.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, so much to unpack there.
So good.
What you thinking?
So much. You want me to be honest? I'm thinking about Mike Mikalowicz and how I should have let Laurie have his time talking about his accounts. We should have been talking about hers. This is Women Connected in Wisdom. Sorry, Mike, but not sorry. Um, and I loved every part of it. I love the intentionality. I'm looking forward to using her book. I think I will put it on my list of wisdoms. Think wisdom, is it wisdoms? I don't think that's a word, but I'm gonna put it on my wisdom in action to
All
do
right.
list
All right.
after I get done with this financial piece. But yeah, I think you definitely need to keep going, and I love that she has multiple books.
I from what she said about know your numbers, like I've been looking at my
Mhm.
numbers since working with her more than ever, but I don't think I've done the pen to paper thing yet. So that'll be my
Yeah,
wisdom in action this week is
and
to write them because there is something magical about that. I agree with her 100% on that.
yeah,
There's some like that brain connection of writing it down. And one thing she said to me recently in a session that I'll share is that you can't help but do better with your money when you start putting intention towards it and when you start looking at it. And that really resonated with me about, you know, we can have all these blocks and make it hard, make it scary, or we can make it fun and we can be like,
yes,
right, if we pay attention to this can be fun and we can have a good
yes,
time and we can give each other high fives. And I know we often talk about it on Manifesting Monday in our mastermind group. We give each other support around this because
yeah,
we need to normalize it. We need to normalize, especially women, talking about money and being
yeah,
comfortable with it. So,
yeah.
so I love that. Yeah.
And my wisdom in action is to change my KPI. So I take inventory manually, right? I will change my KPI for my business to manual as well, because I know that goes into um, everything else that you need for your numbers. So I like that idea. And I definitely love even the electronic notebooks. We talked about the Rocket Book, Christine, before, right? And I love that, but it doesn't feel like normal paper and pen. And so I still love it over everything else. But that's what I'll be doing myself as an action item.
I may have to art journal with money too. I'm just putting a side note out there because I'm an artist
Honestly,
and a doodler, and I mean that might be fun because kind of how we do
yeah.
our vision boards, like
Hmm.
doing that around, but adding the numbers in would be
Yeah.
fun too. So many
Ooh, I
plays
like adding the
ways to
numbers. And
create, play with it, right?
it's really on my vision board. Like this year's vision board has the word money on it, has Janelle Monáe sitting in the grass. She's just the ease that Laurie was talking about. That's definitely what I'm looking for myself. And um, one more point that I wanted to make too about women, just to wrap up this show with everything I've been thinking about this week, is the book about secrets of six-figure women. I love that book, how it talks about community and the goals that you should have financially. Prince Charming isn't coming and you got to figure it out yourself. um, I love that I read this book because before I hadn't thought about how different money really makes people feel about themselves. It was really interesting in the restaurant. If I went up to a table and I had my chef coat with my name sewn on it and zipper all up, all black, people, it didn't matter who they were. They would pay more attention. They interrupted me less when I spoke. They stopped their conversation when I came up to the table. But if I had on my server uniform, they acted different, right? If I had on a white chef coat, they would act different. And so, based on who they thought I was, their response was completely different. But also, how I felt about myself when I was a kitchen manager was different than when I was a server. Even when I was a server before and after was different. And so, because I was reading this book, I was able to articulate, okay, your value has not changed, even though your financial situation has changed. If you know that you should be making more money than this, then let's put a plan together and see what that looks like. And that's what I'm excited to do.
Right. Oh, so many good things to talk about. I know we're really out of time, so we should wrap up with a little talk about self and community care and our
Yeah.
sponsor before we go.
Yeah.
So, why don't you wrap the self care and Shealo Glo together for us today? Does that work?
Ooh, yes, yes. And I know I added this right before the show, but ladies, we want to make sure that we are giving you all the resources we can and tying in the dimension to, again, how you take care of yourself and how you take care of your community. So this week for self-care tip from Shealo is to moisturize twice a day. Okay, in the morning and at night. I think it should be easier with these extra showers, but what I find out, at least out here in Atlanta, is that when we're getting out the shower, we are not putting anything on our skin. So, no more, ladies. Okay, we have to take care of ourselves. And for our self care, moisturize twice a day. That'll help your moisture barrier on your skin. When you do it with when you do it with Shealo Glo and Shea Butter, it's a whole extra coat on your skin that's not only going to help you heal faster, condition your skin, minimize cellulite, help with elasticity, but again, it's going to make sure that it's taking care of the biggest organ on your body, your skin. So we're talking about all this stuff that we do to be well. We want to make sure we're taking care of that. What are you
Right.
gonna
And to
say?
tie that into financial wellness, don't we have a coupon code for folks for Shealo Glo? Our
Yes.
listeners?
Yes, we do. So, ladies, if you're listening, and gentlemen, Joe, if you want some Shealo Glow, you can get some too. And the code is WISE5, and you're going to get 5% off your order on shealoglo.com.
Well, and thank you for Shealo Glo for being our sponsor. And we
Of
will
course.
put that in the show notes. And as always, the link to nominating your Shearo is in there too,
Yes.
for community care, because we like to celebrate amazing women in our communities. So you can put your nomination in there too. You can find that in the
Yes.
show notes. So.
Yes.
Well, as always, my friend, incredible conversation. I know we could just keep going, but we got to stop at some point. So I think we're almost done.
Yes, ladies, we will see you next week live at 5. And in the meantime, be well, be wise, and be whole. We'll see you soon.